All right, Ricardo Celis, thank you very much for coming on to the boxingbar.com and welcome, my friend.
Albert, it's a pleasure being here with you, my friend.
And it's so awesome to hear your voice because every time I think of or I hear that voice of yours, man, I think of those great times on Solo Boxeo, man. And but first of all, before we get into any of that stuff with Solo Boxeo, let's get to know a little bit about you. I know you're now living on the East Coast, but where are you originally from?
Right. I'm original from Mexico, from Tampico, Mexico. And I came to the States in 1986. I was illegal for a while. I was working without papers. And then I got my papers through Ronald Reagan when he was president. There was a law, he did a law called the Simpson-Rodino law. And that's the one I got my papers, and I started working legally here on the States. But I've been here in the States since 1986. I got married here. My kids, they're all born here. So I'm very grateful to this great country.
Awesome. And once you got to this country, what was it like being around people here when you first got here?
It was very tough. At first, from when I came from Mexico, I came to San Antonio, Texas. I was living in San Antonio, Texas, and just like a lot of people that came from other countries to the United States, I started working on doing the room service. I was washing dishes. I was delivering papers, newspapers, and the San Antonio Light. I worked for like 3 or 4 years on a newspaper called the San Antonio Light, and I started working. My schedule was from 8 o'clock at night to 5 o'clock in the morning. I was loading all the trucks with bundles of newspapers and then delivering the newspapers outside town, outside San Antonio. It was very, very tough, Albert, because in San Antonio, in Texas, it's very cold. During the winter months, it's very cold, and during the summer months, it's very, very hot. So, and I was working always outside, and it was tough business. But you know what? Uh, I love it because the San Antonio Light, when I was working on that newspaper, they gave me the chance to study in a master degree. So I went to college, San Antonio College, and I did a master degree there. My master was television production, and because of that, it helped me to get into television at that time.
Did you ever get discouraged, like during that time, like you said, when you were doing hard labor and stuff? Did you ever get discouraged and say, "Man, this, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life"? Did you ever have times where, it was very, frustrating for you, during all that?
It was very frustrating, especially because I had already a degree. I was already licenciado en comunicaciones. I had my a bachelor's degree in Mexico.
Hmm.
And for me, working, washing dishes and working on a newspaper, delivering newspaper, it's not that well, how can I explain this? It wasn't bad. I didn't feel bad at the time, but I knew that I could do a lot more. So that's why I was always trying to do more things. That's why I went back to school and I tried to I got a master's degree. I always had like 3 or 4 jobs when I was working in different restaurants in San Antonio, Texas. And thanks to all those things, I'm the person that I'm right now. Huh?
Growing up in Mexico, like you said, you were you seemed to be well educated before you got here to the United States. But what was it like growing up there in Mexico when you were a kid, like when you were real small?
You know what? I'm from Tampico. At that time in Tampico, it wasn't so dangerous as it is right now. Right now, Tampico is very dangerous, or it was very dangerous a couple of years ago. I had a great childhood. I really enjoyed my life all going over there. Where I live, where I was born in Tampico, it's we have a lot of we have the Gulf of Mexico, of course, and there was a lot of big lakes near Tampico. So I used to go scuba diving all the time, and used to go skiing with my friends, water skiing with my friends. And when I got into high school, I started playing football, American football. And then I played during high school football. And then my 4 years of college, I played football also. So that's why I really love. Now that I work in the NFL Network, doing the games for NFL, that's one of my passions, doing the NFL.
And a lot of us, like well, me anyways, I know you very well from boxing.
Right.
Where did you get that love for boxing? What was some of the first memories that you have of boxing?
My dad, who rest in peace, he was a doctor, and I used to watch when I was a kid. I used to watch the big fights with like Mantequilla Nápoles and Rubén El Púas Olivares,
Mhm.
Ricardo Finito Lopez, all those great Mexican fighters. I used to watch those fights with my dad. And because he was a doctor, he used to explain everything to me. He used to explain why they got caught and why they're using adrenaline 1000 or whatever medicine they use for that, or what's the punishment that the boxers feel on their body from a left hook or when they start hitting the head. So thanks to my dad, I have that love, that passion for boxing.
Wow. What was your first job in doing the broadcasting or doing the announcing type thing? What was the first job that broke you in?
You know what? I started working on a radio station in San Antonio, Texas. The radio station, don't laugh, man. The radio station was called Radio Jalapeño. Radio Jalapeño.
It
it,
sounds more like a taco truck.
it does. Radio Jalapeño, 1540 a.m. And I used to do the play-by-play for the missions, the San Antonio missions, which are the AAA for the Dodgers. They
Mm.
are based in San Antonio, Texas. I did a lot of their games, the San Antonio Missions games, and then when the San Antonio Spurs started broadcasting in Spanish, they called me, and I was doing a couple of their games. They had another announcer. His name is Armando Quintero. He was the play-by-play for the San Antonio Spurs at that time, but he used to travel a lot because he was doing also the Dallas Cowboys. So whenever he was out of town, the Spurs called me and to start doing the NBA. So I was doing the missions on baseball, and then I was doing NBA with the San Antonio Spurs.
And about what year was that?
That was 1988, 89. Right?
I know Solo Boxel started around the 2000 more or less.
Correct. Solo Boxeo. When I was in San Antonio,
Uh-huh.
I started in San Antonio in 1988
Okay.
to 1990. I was working in San Antonio in Channel 41, which is the San Antonio. That Channel 41 was the first Spanish station in the United States.
Oh
Okay, just
wow.
to give you a little of history, it wasn't KWEX in Channel 34. No, no, no. It was Channel 41 in San Antonio,
Really?
Texas. That was the first TV station in Spanish in the United States.
Even before any stations in LA?
Yeah, even before any stations
Wow.
of LA. Yeah,
Okay.
it was the San Antonio station who was the first TV station in the United States.
Wow.
And then they hired me. I was there as a producer, working as a producer, as a sports producer, from '88 to 1990. And then when I was working as a producer, a couple times I was working with this guy Armando Quintero, who was the sports director. And because this guy he traveled so much for with the Cowboys and with the Spurs, they used to ask me to do the sports segment in Channel 41. So one time when I was doing the sports segment, the news director from Channel 52 in Telemundo in LA, he saw me on the air and he offered me a job on the spot. He offered me a job. And he offered me a lot of more money than what I was making in San Antonio, so it was a no-brainer. So I moved to LA.
So, what did you start doing right when you got to LA?
I was the sports director in Channel 52 in LA. The
Okay.
thing was that I was in LA in Channel 52 from 1990 to 1992. That my contract was for 2 years. When my contract expired, I didn't want to work in LA anymore. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of work for me. I had a lot of problems on my marriage at that time. I was married to my first wife, and I really didn't like LA at that time. So when my contract expired, I didn't. It was me who I didn't want to renew my contract. So I went back to San Antonio, and they offered me another job. So I went back to Channel 41. When I was working in Channel 41, they saw me. The news director from Telemundo Network saw me on the air and offered me to be the main anchor for a new show that they were doing in Telemundo Network. It was called Alta Tensión in 1994. So they transferred me to Miami, and since 1994, I've been working on the national network. First with Telemundo, and then in the 2000, when Solo Boxeo started, Univision hired me to do Solo Boxeo and Contacto Deportivo.
Doing that, like Contacto Deportivo and Solo Boxeo, how did you get into that gig, or how did they, how was it that they offered that to you?
You know what? I've been very blessed that my work speaks for itself. So I was working. I was just really doing my job, and I never asked for the job in Univision. They called me. They called me. They offered me the position, and I was hired. They told me that I was going to be the main anchor for Contacto Deportivo, and they were thinking of to do this show, the Solo Boxeo show, and they want me to be the main anchor also for Solo Boxeo. So in 1999, I moved from Telemundo to Univision, which was a better network, a much better network at that time. So I started working doing the Channel 23 first in the local station in Miami, and doing when they started Telefutura and Contacto Deportivo.
Mm-hmm.
That's when they moved Contacto Deportivo and Solo Boxeo to Telefutura. Doing Solo Boxeo and working with Bernardo Osuna,
Mm-hmm.
dude, it was a blessing, a blessing. I love that show. I love working with Bernie, love doing all these shows, boxing shows in Solo Boxeo with Telefutura, because we had so many great fights and great boxers that went through that show that I was really blessed.
And trust me, I'm gonna get to all those questions about
Yeah.
that. When they told you're gonna start doing Solo Boxeo, how you brought up your dad and how he got you into watching boxing. Did a lot of that of what he told you and taught you, did that help you out, from then to now?
Oh, definitely, definitely. Almost a lot of things, man, because I used to give uh, my role as in Solo Boxeo was the doing the play by play.
Mm-hmm.
Always did the play by play. Me and Bernie, we always try to explain the viewers exactly what was the feeling inside the ring, what the fighters were feeling at that time, and because we traveled with the fighters and we got all these very close encounters with all our friends,
Mm-hmm.
because I consider all these fighters my friends, and we used to talk before the shows and after the shows. So we have all the insight from these fighters that we try to communicate to our viewers in Solo Boxeo. So yeah, but all the teachings that my dad taught me when I was a kid, I I loved all that.
Like you said, may you rest in peace. Bernardo Osuna, I never knew, like, you guys seem so comfortable with each other. I never knew, were you guys related? Did you guys, just meet before that, the Solo Boxeo show? When did you meet Bernie exactly?
No, I met Bernie in 1999, exactly doing the Solo Boxeo. The first idea was trying to get Bernie to live in Miami. They were trying to hire Bernie to be a full time in Solo Boxeo.
Mm.
But I don't remember exactly what happened. But for some reason or another, they never got into his contract. So Bernie was a freelancer. He was, he was just working as a freelancer for Solo Boxeo. He was getting paid per fight. Every fight he was getting paid. But me and Bernie, because we traveled so much and we always were like a family outside our family. I have so much respect for everything that Bernie does, and I love this guy. As a matter of fact, we always call each other compadre,
Mm.
and we are compadres. We are compadres actually. See? So I love this guy very very much.
Yeah, and like I said, I used to always hear you guys call each other compadre, and that's why I asked. I was thinking that you guys have to be related, and you guys get along so well. And there was times where during the shows, I remember especially one time, I don't remember if it was you or him. You guys couldn't stop laughing. Something was said, and it seemed like you guys almost just went off the air, just wanting to finish laughing. That's how well you guys got along. But
Right.
it also made you guys feel real to the viewer, where it was like watching two friends kind of like call the fights, and
Right.
that's what a lot of people do in their heads when they're watching fights with their friends is they kind of call it and they saw you guys doing it kind of like they do.
Right. You know what happened, Albert? The
Uh-huh.
thing was that in solo boxeo, sometimes we have really good fights, and sometimes we have fights that they suck, man. They were so bad so that we used to talk about this guy's shoes or
Yeah,
this guy's trunks
yeah.
or this guy's the way the referee used to walk in the ring. I remember there was a referee in Puerto Rico that this guy he doesn't walk in the ring. This guy dances inside the ring. So me and Bernie, we used to have a fucking. I'm sorry.
No,
We
it's
used to
okay.
have a blast, dude. Every time we broadcast a fight. Of
Wow.
course, we always respect the fighter and we respect whatever he does in the ring.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes the fights were so bad that,
Yeah,
that we used to have something else to focus or to try to enjoy the fight, and
right.
that's what you remember of those broadcasts.
Yeah, that's true. I had one of my last guests actually was Lupe Contreras that started on that show, and he kind of told me about times where sometimes those fights they would put anybody to sleep, but you have to stay up and kind of go through it, and that was kind of your job. But it's pretty hard sometimes. You have to find your way to kind of stay up and going.
No, definitely, and especially because on that time we didn't have social media, so
Yeah,
we didn't have the instant feedback that nowadays we have, like me doing the
yeah,
zone,
right.
or Bernie doing ESPN. Nowadays, if you fucked up on the air,
Hmm.
the people will gonna start blasting you on social media. At
Absolutely.
that time, at that time, we have so much fun, man. We have so much fun doing those fights that we didn't care. We really didn't care. And the best thing was that because on solo boxeo, what really worked on solo boxeo was that we had 3 or 4 promoters at the time. Okay, we had Top Rank, we had Don Charging, we had Golden Boy, and we had somebody else. So I don't remember who was. And the sports director, the executive producer of Univision Sports, David Downs, super smart guy. He told all the promoters, okay, we got 50 shows a year. We are gonna divide all these shows between you two, four promoters. Whoever gives us the best fights, okay, we're gonna give you 10 more shows next year. Okay, so
Wow.
imagine that, man. 10 more shows, it's a lot of money.
Oh yeah.
So all these promoters, what they did, they tried to give us the best fights they can. So that's one of the reasons Solo Boxeo was so good. Okay? Because
Yeah.
we had different promoters and we always make promoters compete between each other. Right?
That's true. I never thought of it like that, but you're right. And
Yeah.
something I loved about that show was that in history, if you look back, a little before we started talking, we were talking about guys like Alexis Arguello, but there was always those few Latinos that were maybe in the spotlight, Duran and Arguello and Chavez and stuff like that. Then a little later on, Barrera and Marquez and
Hmm.
Morales. But you guys kind of opened up the doors and said, "Hey, it's not just about those. There's all these guys here," and you guys brought on and debuted people like Cotto, and you guys had guys like Margarito and Calderon, and all these guys, and they had the careers that they had, Hall of Fame type careers, and
Right.
it was all because of shows like Solo Boxeo. You guys had people not just from Mexico either. It was from South America and all of the Latino countries in the world.
Right.
And you
And
guys
you
kind of said, hey, you guys are small countries, but we'll put you guys on if you guys make it up here.
right. One of the biggest compliments that we ever get for Solo Boxeo was from Dan Rafael. Remember, you know Dan
Yeah,
Rafael, right?
absolutely. Yeah, the big
He's
guy.
a great boxing writer.
Yeah.
When he was working for USA Today, he wrote an article about Solo Boxeo. He said, I don't understand anything that these guys are saying. I don't speak Spanish, but I enjoy it so much what these guys are doing on the air. So I thought that it was a great. It was. I'm telling you, it was one of the best compliments I ever received. Was from Dan Rafael, saying that he enjoyed so much the chemistry that we had from Solo Boxeo, and just like you said, we had Antonio Margarito, we had Juan Manuel Marquez, we had Rafael Marquez, we had Miguel Cotto, we had Ivan Calderon, we had Canelo. Canelo's first
right.
fight in the United States, it was with us.
That's
Chavez
right.
Jr., his first fight was with us. We had Maromero fights. Dude, I can tell you a lot of fighters, and that's why the slogan, the Solo Boxeo slogan was Las estrellas del mañana brillan hoy en Solo Boxeo. See? The
That's
stars of the
true.
future is gonna shine today in Solo
That's
Boxeo,
very true.
and that's what the show was. It was a platform for all these boxers to grow.
And it was cool to kind of see. I mean, I'm from Oxnard, California. Lived there all my life until
Uh,
5 years ago. Now I live here in Northern California. But I mean, you guys even had shows over there where we had guys like
a lot of shows. Yeah,
Brandon
yeah,
Rios. We had
yes,
Victor Ortiz. I think his first loss was on your show. We had
yes, yes.
Pochito Reyes, Rolando Reyes. We had Jose Suira Guiniga. We had a bunch of guys, and you guys, kept coming. Even here, I live in the middle of nowhere here in Chico, California, up north. But you guys used to even come to Oroville, to Oroville, California.
Right. We used to travel to all those little cities, man,
Yeah,
because that's what the promoters did. The promoters will get these fights for the fans like you and to all these cities. So I remember they used to tell me, okay, we're gonna go to Wendover, Utah or Wendover, Nevada.
hmm
Where? Well, what's Wendover? Where is that? It's like 3 hours away from Salt Lake City. So what we did, I used to travel to LA, and then from LA, I used to travel with Bernie to Utah, and then we just get a car in Utah and we just drive, and that's when me and Bernie start getting along.
You guys, I'm sure, did a lot of traveling to all these little cities and whatnot. Does a lot of doing that traveling, going out to all these dates every weekend for, every weekend in the year, does that affect your personal life?
No, not at all, man. Not at all. I've been with my wife for 25 years.
Mhm.
We have two kids, and sometimes I think it even works in our relationship, in our marriage,
Mhm.
because sometimes you need your space. And I remember when I used to travel, I used to be by myself on these hotels, and it was just like a my time off away from my family. Take my yeah. I think it worked fine for both of us. We're still together, me and my wife, so we're still very much in love. So that didn't affect us.
That's awesome. Not a lot of people could say that either, so that's a good thing. For those of us that happen to speak Spanish, you guys did all the interviews before, since you guys were on Fridays or whatnot. You guys did a lot of interviews for the big fights on Saturday nights, like when Barrero would fight on Saturday night or Morales. You
Right.
guys would have those interviews for us, the Spanish speakers, and so they won't have to listen to the translation, the next day or nothing. How much of that experience doing that stuff did that help you for today?
Well, that was one of the things that because we had all these promoters
Hmm.
and they tried to put Solo Boxeo in the same city where they have the big fights. For example, if there was a big fight, Chavez de la Hoya in Vegas,
Hmm.
they scheduled Solo Boxeo to be in that city, so we can have like start warming up the ambience, the people from Friday to Saturday. And we used to have all these great fighters come and sit down with us and be part of the broadcast in Solo Boxeo, trying to bring more viewers to their fights on Saturday. So that was great. That was a very smart from the people in Univision.
And the show, I believe, ended around what, 2007, 2008, something like that.
No, well, yeah, we went from 2000 to 2009, I believe. It was the first, and then we came back in 2010. It would just last for one more year. The problem with the Univision Sports is that they switch president of sports.
Okay.
At the end, there was a guy. His name is Alexander Sandy Brown, who came from ABC Sports, and he thought he was going to invent the el hilo negro, como dicen, the black string.
Okay.
And this guy, he didn't spoke a word in Spanish, and he tried to change everything in the Deportes Univision. And he made a lot of mistakes. One of those mistakes was to stop broadcasting Solo Boxeo.
Yeah.
And even he was the guy who lost the World Cup for Univision. So this guy, I think he lasted a year and a half in that charge, and then he got fired. Right? But he made a lot of mistakes during his tenure in Univision.
How hard was it for you when you heard the news that that show was going to stop?
It was very hurtful. It was extremely hurtful because it was a show that I started. It was a show that I really loved doing, especially working with Bernie. And it was the platform for a lot of fighters. So I knew that was going to stop. And I was really hoping that Telemundo or another network will pick up the idea of Solo Boxeo, and start doing more shows, more boxing shows, but they never did. For example, Telemundo, they always been with Boxeo Telemundo. They only have one promoter, and you can have one promoter and have good shows. I'm telling you, because with Solo Boxeo, the success of Solo Boxeo was having different promoters and giving you different fights every week.
And after that, after the show ended there, what did you do until like DAZN until now? What were you doing in the meantime?
Well, when they didn't renew my contract in 2012 in Univision, I got hired by the Time Warner Cable in LA. Remember when we started in LA doing the broadcast of Lakers in Spanish?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was in 2012. In 2012,
I thought that was until 2014.
No. We were from 2012, from 2012 to 2015, something around there.
Okay.
We only lasted 5 years because once again, the people in the big positions, they fucked up. They did big mistakes. For the Lakers, Albert, they were paying $5 billion. They paid $5 billion for 20 years.
Jeez.
And it was a great idea at the time because they had sponsors, and they were able to put all the channel, the Time Warner Cable Deportes in different satellites like Dish TV and AT&T, and everybody was carrying the signal. Then the president of Time Warner Cable, of Time Warner, they decided to buy the rights for the Dodgers. So for the Dodgers, they paid like $7 or $8 billion for 20 years, and it didn't work out. That deal didn't work at all because they were losing $1 million a day in Time Warner. Wow. So it was a very bad deal. What they did, that what Time Warner did, now Spectrum, because when they offered the channel to the different like Dish TV and Direct TV, they didn't want to carry the signal because it was too expensive for them. So Time Warner at the time, they were losing, I'm telling you, $1 million a day.
Wow, that's amazing.
Because of the deal they did, because of the deal they made with Time Warner, with the Dodgers. It was a really bad deal, really bad deal. Even the deal they made with the Lakers, they weren't worth $5 billion. They could buy the whole franchise for less money than that. But these people that, I don't know how they do all those deals, but they lost a lot of money.
Wow. Around the mid 2014 to 2015, we started seeing, HBO and Showtime having their last shows. And they started going, Showtime is still on, but, they're kind of less and less relevant. HBO no longer boxing. And now we have the new age, this whole technology age and apps and DAZN and ESPN Plus, and now this whole new technology, ESPN is starting to show stuff on regular network.
Right.
What do you think of this whole new technology thing? Has it helped boxing? What do you think of it?
Well, the thing nowadays that you have to think the same way with social network and with those news, all these new apps. That was the problem with HBO. I was doing HBO boxing at that time. We used to have big fights. We did all the, I mean, we did all the big fights with all the start when Canelo started doing all these big fights. We did it with HBO. The problem with HBO boxing, Albert, was that they never saw them broadcasting on an application. Okay? They didn't have the visual or the idea to do boxing on an application like nowadays the zone. The problem with the television, the broadcast television nowadays, is that people, everybody, you can watch the TV anywhere and you can watch it at any time.
Mhm.
So it's what they call TV a la carte or TV when you really want to watch it. Like my son is 22 years old. He doesn't watch TV. He never watched TV. He's always watching YouTube or
Mhm.
watching Netflix or something else. TV as a whole,
Like
man,
what,
is dying.
like
It's
what they
dying
call
big time.
what they call like TV to go, huh?
Right now, it is TV to go because I can record. I have YouTube TV,
Hmm.
and I record all the shows, and I can watch any show I want at any time I want. So that's why they call it TV a la carte.
Right. It's so funny. When I think about that, I haven't had cable in about 3 years, and I'm not joking. And so, like, when, all I have is Netflix, DAZN, and ESPN Plus. No, no, no kidding.
Yeah,
And whenever there's a fight on regular ESPN, well, I can watch on ESPN Plus, or I'll just go down to the nearest little bar here and go watch the fights there for free. And hey, it saves me a lot of money on cable too every
no,
month.
I'm with you. I'm with you. Especially nowadays, the cable is so expensive.
It is, it is,
It is so expensive,
and
and
it's all about having a nice speed, internet at your house, and you're set.
exactly. That's exactly what I have. I have, well, I have YouTube TV,
Uh huh.
which I pay 70 bucks a month.
Hmm.
But my son can watch it in LA. My daughter can watch it in Oregon. I can watch it in Miami. My sister watches it on Houston. So I have like five different people that I give my my account, and they can watch it in different states. So it's great.
That's great.
And also I have the Zone, I have ESPN Plus and HBO Plus. Yeah. But yeah, I don't have cable. I don't have a dish or satellite TV. Yeah.
How did you feel that the day you got the call that you got offered the job for DAZN? What was that like?
Right after HBO, when we stopped doing HBO shows, the people that worked in production for the Zone, most of them start working on. They used to work on HBO. Now they're working on the Zone. So the executive producer in Spanish, Art Izquierdo, he called me and he asked me if I want to work on the Zone. I said, yeah, of course. I'm a freelancer, so I jump into the opportunity right away. So I've been with the Zone since the beginning. We did the first fight, which was the best, a big fight. It was Canelo against Rocky Fielding.
Hmm. Just a few weeks ago, the big dog of the sport, Canelo Alvarez, fought there on DAZN. First, what did you think of his opponent?
At the Gildirim, it was a horrible fight, man. It was, and I feel ashamed that I was doing the fight for the Zone, but it wasn't our fault, and it wasn't Canelo's fault. It
No.
was the WBC fault, and because they are the ones. Mauricio Sulaiman is the one who promised Gildirim that he was going to have a shot for the title whenever it was available, and this it was a big problem. It created a big problem for the Zone. It created a big problem for the WBC because you can't promise a boxer that you're gonna fight 2 years later after you lost a fight. Yeah, so they're gonna have to do everything, all these rules again to have the challenger, to have a rightful challenger, not just like this guy who went for a paycheck.
All throughout that week after the fight, on social media, there was so much talk, about Canelo, and there were some people there defending him. There's people, of course, against him, but they were also talking about his place in quote unquote Mexican boxing history. People
Right.
say he doesn't come close to Chavez or Sanchez or Ruben Olivares or those top guys from the past. Some were saying that he is the best of all time. What's your opinion on that? Where do you place Canelo in that history, in that the history of Mexican boxing?
The thing is that in Mexico we had so many great boxers, and just like you said, those names: Salvador Sanchez, Ruben Olivares, Julio Cesar Chavez. So all those guys are already retired.
Mm.
When Canelo retires, when he decides to, okay, that's it for me, I'm not gonna fight anymore. Canelo's gonna be the top fighter in Mexico. That, I have no doubt about it. He's really good. He fought against at least 4 or 5 fighters that are gonna be at one point in the Hall of Fame, like Mayweather, Cotto, Kovalev. So we have to give a lot of credit to Canelo what he has done so far. He's been in a champion in 4 different divisions, which Chavez never did. Chavez only had 3 different divisions, and a lot of people. I had a lot of criticism on Twitter, on social media, saying that no, how can I say that Canelo is the best pound for pound ever from Mexico? But if you see the record, Chavez's record, Chavez didn't fight against a lot of his fights. I know, I respect that. I love Chavez. He's my friend. But a lot of his fights weren't against first contenders or champions. He had a lot of fights against people who never heard about in boxing.
Yeah. And that's kind of what the Canelo people that are, saying that he is the best of Mexico. They're pretty much pointing at that and pointing at facts like that he should have lost against Whitaker, that he was losing against Taylor, stuff like that. But then again, there's that other side as well that people need to understand is that there's people that think that Lara should have won the decision against him or Cotto or these other things. So there's
Right.
there's that tug, there's that little, you understand one side and you also understand another, and you kind of have to leave it alone at that because everybody's gonna have their own opinion at the end of the day, and you can pull each other's hair over it, but at the end of the day, that's what it is. Everybody's
No,
gonna have their opinion.
you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. That's one of the things I love about boxing.
Yeah.
That is very subjective. You
Mhm.
can see the fight one way, and I can see the fight another way.
Absolutely.
And I think people have all the right in the world to say whoever they think is the best Mexican fighter of all times. But my opinion, I think Canelo right now is one of the best. And when he retires, definitely he's gonna be remembered as probably the top fighter that Mexico ever produced. So.
In just 2 nights, we're gonna have Chocolatito Gonzalez fight against El Gallo Estrada. That'll be taking place here in Texas. You're gonna obviously be there since it's gonna be on DAZN. You just spoke to the fighters just a little while ago at the fighter meeting. How did you see them going up to this fight?
Man, that's gonna be very interesting fight. It's been a rematch that is being on the works for a long time. The first fight was in November 2012, and which Chocolatito had the win. But let's remember, Chocolatito at that time he was in his it was his 9th title fight, and for Estrada, for El Gallo Estrada, it was his first. So he didn't have that much experience as he has now. The fight this Saturday, it's gonna be a war, man. These guys they throw a lot of punches, so it's gonna be a very interesting fight.
Chocolatito's last performance, or some of his last few performances, a lot of people weren't kind of open wide about. Gallo Estrada, well, he always performs. How did you see Chocolatito in his last few fights?
Well, the thing was with Chocolatito when he lost against Sorumbisai, this guy from Thailand.
Mm-hmm.
It was a big shock for me, especially because he was the best pound for pound at that time.
Mm-hmm.
But let's remember, when he lost those 2 fights against Sorumbisai, his trainer, his main trainer from all these years, Arnulfo Obando, he just has passed away.
Mm-hmm.
He was dead at the time, so that really affect a lot of Chocolatito Gonzalez. So I think, and the first fight when these guys fought the first time in 2012, they threw over 2,130 punches between both of them. So it's the quantity of punches that they throw is really really high, man. So it's gonna be an interesting fight.
So go ahead and plug the card for DAZN. What can the fans expect to see Saturday night? Not just the main event, of course, but the whole card. Well, what can the fans expect?
Well, we're gonna have three titles on the line, so it's gonna be very interesting because it's not only the super flyweight between Juan Francisco Estrada, whose his record is 41-3 with 28 knockouts against Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez. It's basically Nicaragua versus Mexico. We're also gonna have Jessica McCaskill, who is the champion, the welter from against Cecilia Brecos. Cecilia Brecos, this lady, she was born in Colombia, but she was adopted from Norway. Her parents are from Norway,
Mm-hmm.
and she did 25 defend her title 25 times until she fought Jessica McCaskill, and she lost that fight in Oklahoma, Tulsa, Oklahoma. So that's another rematch, and then we're gonna have the mini flyweight against Hiroto Kiyoguchi, which is from Japan. He's undefeated, 14 and 9 knockouts against this Mexican Axel Vega. It's going to be a very interesting card this coming Saturday.
Absolutely, I can't wait for the women's fight, and I'm glad DAZN is, throwing those women out there because
I know.
they deserve a whole lot of respect, and
Oh,
hey,
definitely.
women are also warriors too. It's not just about the men. Uh, Thank you very much, Ricardo, for coming on and on the boxingbar.com and giving us your time. And I hope down the line you could come back on and tell us a little bit more about you and tell us what's going on with the fights there, man.
I will love it, Albert. Anytime, bro. You have my phone. Anytime you want to talk, just give me a call, okay?